Phone's on. Okay, do it now. Now what? All right, it is 6:30 on February 20th. This is a regular meeting of the Arlington City Council. Welcome, everyone. My name is Rich Nagel. I'm the mayor, and I'll be presiding at the meeting. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first we'll have roll call. Council members, Councilmember Hattlestead.
Here.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Here.
Councilmember Batcher.
Here.
Councilmember Cowell.
Here.
Councilmember Highland.
Here.
All council members are present. Also this evening, on my left is Administrative Coordinator Vicky Pamploon, filling in for vacationing City Administrator Pat Melvin. Also with us in the audience, Chief John Pedersen, Jim Kreft, Dwight Grabitsky representing the Arlington Historical Society, and Kurt Mank representing the Arlington Enterprise. Welcome to all of you. At this time, are there any changes in the agenda? Any additions? I do have one, and that would be under 7F. We'll add F, and it would be a January building report.
Make a motion to accept the agenda with the revisions.
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilmember Batcher, second by Councilmember Hattlestead to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Moving on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening includes the following items. Approval of the February 5th, 2018 City Council Workshop Minutes. Approval of the February 5th, 2018 City Council Meeting Minutes. Item C, approval of the bills. And item D, approval of 3.2 malt liquor and setup licenses for the following. La Casa del Pueblo Market, Inc., that's an off sale. American Legion Post 250, that's on sale and setup. Arlington Baseball Association on sale, and Arlington Raceway off sale and on sale.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Is that Cowell? Motion by Councilmember Yashewski, second by Councilmember Cowell to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried. There are no public hearings this evening, although we have an individual who wishes to address the council at this time. So Jim, if you'd come forward. Jim Kreft, and I believe we all received an email that he had sent out, or a copy of the email that he had sent. So we're, just if you push the button.
Ah, okay, great. Thank you, Mayor Nagel and council members for hearing me.
Jim, if you want to bring it closer to you and kind of really talk into the mic.
Very good.
And typically, Jim, we have 5 minutes, so whatever you can,
Yep.
I know the detail will cover.
I will really stretch this to make 5 minutes. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your service to Arlington. I'm here to address the council on an agenda item later in the evening. Item 11, consideration of waiving the sewer and water access charges for all new construction for this year. I did read the article in the Enterprise, and it struck a nerve, I guess. I'm just hoping that the council considers the ramifications of this waiver, possible waiver. As we know, sewer and water access charges are one-time charges for buy-in to our system. The sewer system that's owned by Arlington and Green Isle, and the water system that's owned by the city of Arlington. This is the only time the city can recoup those fees for the debt service on those systems. As the city has routinely done, on street and sewer and water reconstruction projects, the water mains, sewer mains in the street in front of a home are shared with the homeowners. But the system itself, the only direct debt service to those systems is the buy-ins. So by waiver of that, those debt service still need to be paid. If they're not paid by that buy-in immediately up front, they're paid for by either our tax revenue or the water and sewer revenue. So the burden is shifted to those that are not directly benefiting from the buy-in or the delivery of that service to their front door, if you will. And in my email, I wrote a few other concerns, but my main one is the consideration of the confusion that it could lead to in the Arlington Green Isle wastewater agreement. As you know, that's something that's approximately 21 or 22 years old, and I have experience trying to sort that out kind of after the fact, and it was difficult to do, and I would hesitate to try to add confusion to that agreement. I really do applaud the EDA and the City of Arlington for looking for new development in our city. We absolutely are looking, and I believe that we're ready for new residential development in our city, and I'm a tradesperson, and it would hopefully, affect my business positively. And I believe there are some ways that the city could consider doing so, advocating for new development, specifically residential development, and maybe even through the payment of the sewer and water access charges. One possible way, consider amortizing the fees, the charges over a period of years. And I would believe that this could be an assessable charge, so that it goes directly against the property, not the property owner if it would change hands. That would be beneficial, I would believe, for especially a commercial or industrial project. If the city is specifically looking for speculative housing, a contractor who's risking a sale of a project for an undetermined sale price, the lower the upfront costs for that contractor, the better for him or her. So if the delay of the sewer and water access charges could be made until actual transfer to the eventual buyer of the property, I believe that would, take some of the risk away from the possible or potential developer. And then for commercial and industrial, I think it would be important that sewer and water access charges, along with utilities in general, could remain the purvey of the city in negotiations to a potential developer, specifically industrial commercial developer, as an incentive to try to help that commercial business land in Arlington and have them succeed. And then finally, I think the city could possibly revisit the lot acquisition policy that the EDA has implemented. I believe that's also a 1997 vintage, and that was hugely beneficial to the development of speculative housing in the late 1990s and early 2000s. As you know, that lot acquisition policy has a pot of money that the EDA has lent rent-free or interest-free, to potential speculative residential single-family developers in the past. But I believe the stipulation was that if I am a developer, I have to buy that lot from a different property owner. If I as a property developer, own 20 lots, I cannot access that loan policy. If that language hasn't been changed, I believe that could be examined and maybe jumpstart some speculative housing by our local contractors and developers. So, and then finally, I guess, as I wrote, I think a little bit more patience in our residential development will be rewarded. I see some signs, as I'm sure you do as well, that our residential climate is coming back a little bit. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Did I make my 5 minutes, Mayor?
I didn't even
Okay.
time you.
All right.
I trust you did.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jim.
Jim.
All right, is there anyone else that wishes to address the council at this time? Okay, then we'll move on to announcements. The announcements you have in front of you, awarding of the Darwin Mathwig Community Service Award. That'll take place this coming Friday night at the Lions Fish Fry at 5 p.m. Item B, Transportation Day at the Capitol, March 7th from 9:30 until 2:30, Best Western Capitol Ridge, St. Paul. Item C, Local Board of Appeal and Equalization Open Book Meeting, Thursday, April 19th at 3 to 8 p.m. in the Sibley County Courthouse, 400 Court Avenue in Gaylord. Item D, Sibley County Social Media Breakfast, Friday, February 23rd, that is this coming Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. at the Sibley County Commissioners Room, free event. However, please RSVP to Amy Newsom, and her phone number is there. Item E, third annual Sibley County Community and Business Expo is Thursday, April 19th at the Arlington Community Center from 4 to 7 p.m. And also contact Amy Newsom to arrange for a booth. I understand from a recent email from her that she is getting reservations in already on that, so it seems like it's going to be a popular event again this year. And then item F, Bloodmobile will be here at the community center on March 6th from 12:30 to 6:30. Any questions on the announcements?
They missed the most important of all.
Just wait, I've got that. There will be an auction at Liberty Station on Saturday, February 24th from
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock until it's done.
Everything's gone.
All right. So,
Oh. Thank you for bringing that up. I knew you just kind of missed it there for a second.
you're welcome. Also, moving on to communications, we have a police department update. Would you want to do your update now?
Excuse me. So I
Welcome.
Hi, welcome. Thank you, I should say. I gave you each packet of papers to just kind of follow what I'm talking about. As far as any updates down at the police department, we did finalize our closed, I should say, our hiring application acceptance letters. We did end up with 7 applications, and as soon as the city administrator returns, we're hoping to get a date set so that we can get those interviews started. Like that's pretty much the gist of the hiring process. We really can't do too much more until we get that looked at. So we did have Vicky put together a 2016 and a 2017 police department stats, for lack of a better word. So in front of you, we have the call load that we had from 2016, 2017, broken down into months. One of the things that we wanted to point out on here was detailing when Gaylord Police Department was doing the interim position and filling in while we were kind of between officers and chief. And that would have been for the months of, as we had April, May, and June on the 2017. So I know I'm throwing this at you to look at. It really isn't anything that's pertinent. I think it's just kind of interesting to see where the numbers kind of fall per month and where we're at today with 2 officers as well. I did look at January's numbers, which was included in the packet also, and we're standing at 192 calls by the end of January. And I think as of today, we're at 264 for the year. So it kind of puts it in perspective of call load. One of the interesting things that I saw on here was, it seems like the, April, May, and June are up there in numbers for whether it's 2016 or whether it's 2017. With Gaylord Police Department here, they have a little different approach to how they handle calls or how they document their calls. So the higher numbers that we see on here, they detail a little bit more of the park checks and the community policing, which in my opinion should be as you're doing your shift, you should be doing it no matter what. And it should be every park. We don't need to document every single one of them. So you do see a few higher numbers while Gaylord was here because they have a little different process of documentation for their call load. Otherwise, across the board, I think 2016 and 17 look like they're pretty consistent per month. Vicky is also working diligently on getting back to 2012, 13, 14, and 15.
14 and 15 were missing during that period. That chief at that time was doing things differently and not necessarily documenting or doing the monthly, and so I'm going back to get those 2 years. Prior to that, the chief at that time had call logs, so I have from 2006 to 2014, so I'm just filling in the 14 and 15 gap.
So
I'll
hopefully
I'll have a
next,
complete set for you.
hopefully the next council meeting will have that whole thing to present, and you can kind of see the progression over the years of how things have been. In addition to that, I included in there that we have a convention, the Chief of Police Convention is happening here in Duluth, April 22nd and through the 25th. I'm going to express an interest to all of you. I would like to attend that. I noticed that as the closing date of that conference, they also open it up to the city administrator. And I would like to see if Pat would be interested in accompanying me on that last day as well. From what I've been told, this Chiefs Convention is a very informative and worthwhile time. There's also post-credits that are involved for my training purposes too. I think I listed the costs on there for that attendance as well. It was $410 for myself for the 4 days, and the city administrator 1 day is $100. One other thing that I threw in here was the FOP, it's called. It's the Fraternal Order of Police. And it's something that I'd like to bring up at some point in time, have discussions with any of you. Law enforcement nowadays is a very litigious position where we get scrutinized over pretty much everything that we do. And in an attempt to protect officers civilly, whether they're on duty or off duty, the Fraternal Order of Police is a group that's been established nationwide, and they offer what's called a legal defense fund. And as being a part of a Fraternal Order of Police, the cost of that legal defense is a mere, what did I figure this was, $150 for a year. That is per officer. And I'd like to just open some discussion at some point in time about possibly providing that to our officers. Again, at any point in time, somebody can come in and file a complaint against us, and you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on representation, and it can even be outside the department. And I think it's one of those things that's very important for supplying some support to our officers as well.
Chief, is that money that the city would incur if you're on duty? Otherwise, when you're off duty, then personally, or is it all personally?
On the one
legal
sheet
fees?
that I included on
Okay.
here,
Yep.
if you look at that, there's a few different legal defense funds that are listed, and the FOP, the first column there where it says $150, tells you when it would cover your costs,
Okay.
and it covers even on-duty criminal or civil complaints. So it's a pretty huge savings when it comes to even the costs that a city can incur trying to defend a police officer. So I just thought it'd be something we could kind of throw up on the table and hash it out at some point in time. For the membership of the FOP, which is the actual organization, that's $31.25 So for $181, we'd be covered for some possible legal fees. So set that off to the side. As far as the Chiefs Convention, I did print out a flyer I could leave for you guys to take a look at and pass it around. It has some of the topics that are being covered, and some of it's kind of interesting, but I won't take and waste your time with that right now. So, we do have the maintenance department is gonna be setting up the antenna on the side of our building, hopefully the next few nice weather days. And we'll be able to get you the watch guard system set up. I know I keep talking about it, but weather has been hindering some things to happen. And once we get that going, that system will be operational. Another thing to bring up, we just got a call for a request. You guys have been here a while, so help me out so I understand too. This pub putt, it's a St. Patrick's Day function, I guess, that is occurring in March. And we were asked by the Dugout Bar if we would be okay with allowing the buses to pull up to the front of their building and allow patrons to exit the buses to the front door of the building. I considered it kind of similar to the Arlington parade, where we made an exception for that short-term exposure of maybe an alcoholic container going into the bar from the bus, which is legal. They're allowed to have an open plastic container on the bus as long as somebody else is chauffeuring them around. So they had asked if it'd be all right to have the buses pull up between that 12 and 7 p.m. time frame. And I did say that I thought that would be possible, but I wanted to get you guys' opinions on that as well. So, that's all I have.
What's the date on that again? Oh, maybe it's on
St.
there.
Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, March.
And this is the same event they've been having for quite a few years, right? And I've never heard of any issues
Oh, okay.
over the, I mean, that I can remember. I don't know if anybody else has, but I've never heard of any.
Well, I think it's just nice that they have somebody driving, and
Absolutely.
I don't see a problem
Yep.
with that.
They said it did involve multiple communities, so they are going to be going from place to place. The buses will be coming and going. It may occupy a little bit of space in the front main street,
Mm-hmm.
but again, for the amount of time it's going to take for them to load and unload, I can't see it being a huge issue on a Saturday afternoon.
Would we have to put up no parking there for that period of time, or any kind of a?
I like that idea.
You know, I mean,
I can
just-
certainly talk to Kirby about maybe we could post some temporary for
Yeah,
them to have that.
Yeah,
Otherwise, individuals are gonna park there.
just so the
You'd have
council
to have
says, yeah, go ahead and do
something
it, but then
posted
somebody
there.
is parked in there.
Sure.
you
Well,
know.
in years past, they've never had like a no parking area.
Right.
They just stop right on Main Street or
Oh.
whatever, and people just get
And it was
off.
buses also?
Yeah, and well, that's what it is. It's like a Trailblazer bus for the most part is what it is, I think, or like
Would you be
that
comfortable with
type
that?
of.
I am. I mean, it worked so smoothly with the Arladazzle, and you know, we didn't have any issues, and everybody's saying that this has been a pretty smooth function. I don't have any issues with it. It sounds like she had staffing that was 6 to 7 extra people. The one suggestion I asked was, if you're gonna have that number of people coming and going from the front, could you put some extra garbage cans out there? Cause that was a problem during the Arladazzle in that area. It really accumulated quickly, and she
Mhm.
said she'd be more than happy to do that as well. So with the no parking potential and the garbage happening,
Mhm.
if there's any other suggestions, I'd be happy to look into those too.
I guess I don't have a problem with it either, as long as the people go from the bus to the dugout and don't wander up and down the streets
Yep.
with their beverages in
Well,
hand.
there's a time limit when you go and do that. I mean, the
Mhm.
buses come every like half hour, something like that. So the whole point of it is going in, doing like a putt, right? On their some kind of game or whatever that they're doing, and then they get back on the bus and then go to a different bar and do the same thing in a different town. So they're kind of on a time restraint
Right.
as well, to be able to go hit all of them so you can register for prizes and stuff like that, and that kind of thing. So
My other question was, did any of that require any other type of liquor permit or any? It shouldn't be outside of their business other than the traffic walking from the bus to the other, so we don't need to grant any
if it's been going on for a number of years, I don't recall it even coming to the
Or we could
council.
give them tickets, retro tickets.
One
I
thing
I don't see a problem with
just
it.
for safety, I'd rather see horses on a parking area for the bus, so it can drive in, and aren't gonna be stumbling out in the street.
So they can pull up to the curb, in other words.
Pull up to the
Yeah.
curb.
Yeah, I think that's important
I
too.
think it would just be safer.
Mhm. So then probably putting up some temporary signs would be a good thing,
You know, you're
just to get them out of the lane
You're
of
talking
traffic.
4 or 5
Yeah.
parking spaces.
That's right,
That's
that's
about all.
about all it would be.
It's all right, I'll coordinate that with Kirby then.
Sounds like a plan.
That's all that I have.
I think we're all nodding our heads.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Any other
Thank you.
questions?
I think I jumped the gun a little bit, you were supposed to come on a little later, but, you won't have to do it again.
Get home earlier this way.
Yeah.
All right, under Communications, People Service, Inc., December operations update, you have a copy of that in your packet. Review Sibley County Public Works Bridge Safety Inspection Report. Acknowledge thank you letter from Southwest Initiative Foundation. And that also is in your packet. And then item E, notification of Mediacom's increase in local broadband or broadcast station surcharge from $11.18 a month to $11.79. And then the item that was added, item F, there was a January building report in there for your review. Any questions on the communications? Hearing none, we'll move on to reports, and that would be Mr. Grabitsky representing the Arlington Historical Society. Welcome, Dwight.
Thank you. You do have a copy of the report in your packet. Not very long, just 10 pages, and I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I would like, though, to talk a little bit about two items in there, the Arlington Museum. In our agreement with the city, we are to be open a number of days during the year. So in order to fulfill that, this past year, we were open 2 Saturdays a month, the first and third Saturday of each month, from May through the Arlington, which seemed to work out fairly well because that seems to be the time that the people were in town on the Saturdays. And we were very, very pleased with the numbers for the most part. In addition to that, we were open a couple of times for class reunions. One of them was in the afternoon, so we were open for about an hour and a half, and I was very, very impressed with the people as they came through because they saw some of the things from the school that we have on display, and it brought back a lot of memories. It brought a lot of conversation, so it turned out to be a very, very good representation of the community. So we were very, very pleased with that. The Arlington was spectacular. We had 190 people come through. That a few people that signed families, the name and family. So there probably were probably a little over 200 people actually that came through that time. So that was a very, very good afternoon. It was very, very. We had some great comments from the people that came through. Very, very pleasing. So the whole thing has turned out quite well. The other thing that I wanted to touch on was the lighting grant. This past year we applied for a grant from the Minnesota Historical Society. The grant provides the monies for a plan to redo the inside of the museum so it's properly lit. The area is very nice for as office space. The lighting is good for office space, but unfortunately it doesn't do very well for museums and showing off the displays in the best way. The lighting grant that we received goes on through September. We hope to have everything completed within the next probably 2 to 3 months. We will be meeting with the planning designer. He has already been out there. He has taken measurements and gone through the entire area, looking at the plans that we have for the museum display. So he will be coming in on the 7th of March. He'll be coming back with a preliminary proposal. At that time, we will have our contractor, Travis, will be our general contractor. And he will be there for that presentation. He'll get a chance to see what's being proposed and the things that we have to do. One of the things that we have to do is to raise the ceiling, because we have some rather tall displays that right now would be touching the ceiling and going down to make them really not very good for visibility. But anyway, we will, so those are one of the things that we'll be going through as we talk about the plans. Coming up later in the year, once we've got things formalized, the city will be getting a copy of the proposals, the final draft. Right now, we will just see the first part of it, and I'm guessing in another 6 to 8 weeks, we'll get to see the final draft once the contractors have taken a good look at that. The plan then is, once that is completed and the plan laid out, paid for, then we will take all of that information and turn around and apply another time for a large grant from the legacy fund. The problem with the large grant is it won't cover everything, which means that we will have to do some fundraising. Until we know what all of the numbers are, I can't even, I just know that we'll have to do it, but I have no idea as to what kind of amounts we're going to be looking at. But those are the things that I would like to bring to your attention. All of the, everything else that we did this past year, the things from World War I, we got a lot of very nice comments from different military people that came through. We're very, very pleased with that. You can look at the numbers, you can see the amount of money that has come in. We didn't raise as much money this past year as we have in the past. However, I think this next year we'll have to, once we start getting some figures as to what things are going to cost, then we will have to do a lot of personal fundraising. If there are any questions, I can answer the questions, anything that pertains to the report or anything that pertains to the Historical Society. We're active in the community. We meet every month. You are welcome to come. In fact, we do enjoy having people come. So if you got the Monday off and don't have anything else to do at 10 o'clock, come on to this very room and you can listen to us. Sometimes we get off track and it gets very interesting.
You mentioned about having to raise the ceiling. How much space do you have up there? How much can you raise it?
There's about 24 inches that we can go. Travis has looked at that, and we probably won't be able to go the full 24, but he's been in there. We've had Why Not come over to take a look at, because of all of the piping and everything else that's up above, they'll have to move that up. That does not look like that would be very difficult, at least from what Tim looked at, and he thought that that would go very quickly.
Questions from the council?
I think you guys are doing a great job with that museum. It's coming along very well.
It's been a lot of fun because we bring out the Arlington history for people, and it's amazing what people will come through and look at some of the things, and then all of a sudden we get some great stories about where they were when the canning factory fire was, and remembering the dances that the Jolly Lumberjacks were there, and yes, it's really been fun.
Now, the Oscar box, as I kind of reading through this Oscar took scrap lumber and made boxes.
Yes.
And what did they use the boxes for?
If you take a look at the way the boxes are constructed, turning them different ways, you can sit on them, stand on them, and then by flipping it over and using the open end, you can throw all your tools inside that open end and grab the box and go.
Okay.
So it was very, very fun looking at the different ones that he made and looking at the dimensions and then realizing that he must have, instead of just throwing something together, he was actually looking at the dimensions, because there is a certain, when you look at the way they are set up, you can see the practical uses for it.
You should
And
have
the
brought
kids-
one along.
You don't have one?
I don't have one. Oh, I
They're
go-
all I'll say is they're as handy as can be.
They are, yes.
They're really handy.
We had some kids come in and make them, and they really had a good time that Saturday. I would have liked to have had a few more kids come, but a couple of kids that signed up turned out to, one of them was sick and the dad was sick, or whoever was going to help was sick, so they weren't able to come. But I think maybe we'll try it one more time after the weather gets nice, and we can do it outside, so there's a little more room.
Well, and I think if you get your Facebook page up and running, you'll get a lot of more younger kids at least knowing about it.
That's one of the things that we would like to do this coming Friday. You mentioned it in the upcoming activities over at the courthouse.
Yep.
And so I'm a little bit apprehensive about doing something like that, but I'm not all that great technically. When it comes to help, I have a daughter and a son-in-law who are both involved very deeply in the computer, and they get calls frequently when I have problems.
Well, this summer, if you're looking for more kids to do some building of Oscar boxes, sign me up.
Okay?
Any other questions of Mr. Verbitsky? Thanks, Dwight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate your,
very much.
the fine work you're doing, and keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And
Mhm.
if you get the opportunity, please come. We enjoy having people.
Thank you.
First and third.
All right, we jump down to item 12 on the agenda. It's consider options for locations to hold a strategic planning session on Monday, March 12th, 2018 has been set as the date. And the time is what, 4?
Administrator Melvin contacted me this afternoon. He stated the date is confirmed, on the 12th. He needs, Waldron needs 4 hours, and he said so from 4 to 8 has been set. The date and time are set. It's just the location
Location.
needs to be decided upon. He said the first session on that date will be strictly with him and the council. He will not be bringing any of his students along. That will happen after, and then getting determination of how you want to get the public involved and things like that will happen after. But that first one will be strictly him and the council one-on-one, and feeling out where you want to take how you want to handle the whole plan. That's what Melvin told me.
So we have location suggested, Sibley County Service Center. What, I'm just not, that isn't registering with me.
So that's in the,
Courthouse?
no, not in the courthouse, but in that new building that they,
On the west side of town?
right, yep.
Okay, where Human
So-
Services is.
Yes, yes, they
Okay.
have like a nice sized conference room
Okay.
about the size of the chambers here.
Okay,
So, and also I think the, Sibley East has conference rooms, that would be available for us to use as
Will
well.
that be here or Gaelic?
Either site actually, wherever. I know, in Arlington, they have a site that's right off of the main office, right when you first walk in. And then over in Gaylord, there's a nice big conference room as well, upstairs, so.
I know he also mentioned here, other locations was the Arlington House and the Crafts that offered, a site also.
In Victoria.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just reminding you of those other sites also.
Well, yeah, I thought of the Arlington House back room too. I mean, if we wanted to stay local and not, you know, leave kind of the immediate area, so.
So he just reminding you that you need to set 4 hours aside from 4 to 8 that afternoon.
Ideas on?
I'm open to anything, I mean, seeing that it's in the evening and not during business hours, that kind of makes me happy.
Right.
It helps with my schedule, so I appreciate that it's
Do
done,
we
so.
wanna stay in town or do we wanna go out of town?
I think it's nice not to be in the chambers when we do it, so anywhere I'm open to.
How about
So-
Lord Fletcher's? I
Lord
can't think of a
Fletcher.
better way to celebrate my 75th birthday.
Oh, is
Is
that
it
your?
that day?
Is it really?
They got $5 burgers. But this is in the
Okay,
money.
we don't go to Lord Fletcher's then.
Well,
And
let's
I
see,
guess, just
the
as-
party starts right after 8 o'clock then.
I guess I just assume stay around, fairly local.
Close by.
Yeah, you know, maybe, you know, either if the school or the Sibley County Service Center or something that maybe doesn't cost, you know,
Is there
money.
a cost involved in
Well, I just saw
school? There
the
was.
Just,
green.
no, Mr. Amsden was very excited to hear that anybody's interested to use their new spaces or their spaces there, so, I thought I'd pass that along too. And I don't think there's a fee, it's just a reservation of the,
Making
the
sure it's
room.
available and stays
Yep.
available.
yeah.
How does that sound to everyone?
I'd be all for staying in town if we can work it out.
How about the school?
That works for
No
me.
School?
problem here.
School here.
Yeah. Just a
I
conference
can
room.
confirm that and
Okay.
then let,
Everybody's in agreement with that? Let's,
okay.
you've got the date, you've got the time,
Yeah,
so.
and if, for whatever, and in Arlington, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll confirm that and then send an email to Pat and then he can send it
Okay.
out to
Yeah,
everybody
cause
else.
he's, the Sibley County one, I think they were tentatively holding, so we need to let them know,
Okay,
that we're gonna release that reservation. So whether you send it to Pat or I can also follow up, but
okay, I can let you know. I can look probably right now to let you know if it's open or not. I think it is.
Okay. I guess also the Green Isle Fire Hall was another, but there was a charge there, $50, so I think we've got enough of good choices without that. All right, then it will be the school unless for some reason it's not available. Have to go to one of the other sites, which I think everyone said would be agreeable to them too, so looks like. Any other comments on that issue, on the strategic planning? If not, we'll move into new business. Item 13, approve or deny EDA committee recommendation. Recommendation to waive sewer access charge, SAC, and water access charge, WAC, fees for 2018 for residential and commercial buildings in the effort to encourage building in Arlington. Resolution 20-2018. Open for discussion.
I think Mr. Croft had a good point that I hadn't considered is where's the money that we're waiting gonna come from to pay for those parts of the project?
Well, obviously, it's being paid, you know, when no building is going on, the money's that,
Anyway,
in other words, we're surviving without any, you know, building has been at quite of a lull here for the last 4 or 5 years. Those fees haven't been coming in anyhow, so, but that is a, you know, that is a concern.
Well, and along with that, I mean, what I understand the whack and sack fees is you're buying in, or you're, you know, kind of paying your dues that all of us have been paying on and continue to pay on. But I guess to prompt or to, you know, initiate or you know, get people excited about building here, I'm open to waiving the fees. I mean, I think it's, you know, it would be good. See how it goes for the rest of the year and then maybe open it up. However, I do have to say that we do, before we make a decision, we should look at the other policies, especially concerning Green Island, such like that, because I don't want it to disrupt what kind of agreement that we have there.
With them, yeah.
So I appreciate that being brought up, because I don't think I even gave that one thought when we had been talking about this at the EDA meeting.
I guess for me, the one thing, I don't know that somebody's gonna build a house or somebody's gonna put a business up for, you know, $4,800 less. You know, I'm not sure it would help a lot. You know, any bit helps. What I think it might help, and kind of what Mr. Kreff alluded to, or one of his ideas was if somebody were to build a bunch of houses and then pass that on, you know, if somebody's gonna, because I think that's what we need. Inventory. There's no houses for sale in Arlington. So if a developer were to come in here and build 5, 10 houses, you know, then that adds up. And then if they can, you know, delay that cost until somebody buys that house, I think that would be a good solution for this. I'm just not sure if somebody building a single family home won't build it because there's a $4,800 charge.
It worked in Henderson. It was discussed at the EDA meeting,
Okay.
and it really did work. I guess where I'm sitting right now with what Jim brought up, I would willing to go back to the EDA committee and maybe talk about amortizing the fees over the years and revisit the lot acquisition policy. I mean, I don't know that we're in a big hurry, and lay it back on the EDA and see if they maybe think that some of Mr. Kreff's recommendations would be better than eliminating the whack and sack fee. And hashing that out and then coming back. I mean, I know we're talking about a month's period of time, but I wouldn't have a problem with that.
And checking into the Green Isle thing, 'cause
Yep. And just kind of rediscussing it again. I'm not saying anything's gonna change, but at least we can go through these concerns
right.
rather than just, yep, let's do it.
I kinda like the idea of, allowing a builder, if he comes in, to not pay the charge, but when he sells the house or lot to the customer, then the charge is paid. That gives the builder a little bit of breathing room, up front, to get the project started. So that's one of my thoughts.
Like I said, I know the EDA they talked about Henderson, and like I said, it did make a difference. More than what one would think. So I guess it's which avenue we wanna go to potentially get some new homes built, whether they're twin homes or single family or multi-dwelling, whatever.
I'd say table it so all this can get done.
One other thing, if you don't mind my comment, I had conversation with staff at the city office level this afternoon, and they had a couple concerns of not leaving it open-ended. Put some definite stipulations behind this, if you're gonna do it for a year, so that it's, okay, if they're going to allow it, that by December 31st of 2017, or 2018, excuse me, that it ends, that a permit has to be pulled by that date. It can't be January 1st. You put some teeth behind it, and then if they pull a permit, say a builder comes in and wants to do 5 building permits, and then all of a sudden he doesn't follow through on those 5 permits, then we things are walked away. It was just suggested by staff that you consider some of that with the building permit and some of that other stuff, that you put some teeth behind it and some stipulations. Don't leave it open-ended.
Definite ending date.
Yeah.
Well, I think we had talked about that at the EDA meeting as well.
That was just
to
some
have it-
concerns that staff had asked me to share with you guys.
To have it end at the end of 2018 and then revisit to see if we'd want to extend it, after that. But I think that was my impression, is that it would be done at the end of 2018.
I think that's how it was kind of worded here in this proposed
yeah.
resolution, is that
It's
they were,
open-ended.
just wanted
It was
some,
open-ended
It
to
is
the end of
open-ended.
2008.
Would remain in
So-
effect unless otherwise modified by
yeah.
the city
So
council.
they just
yeah.
expressed some concern that
Mhm.
we get a few
Noticed that
stipulations.
I would be willing to make a motion to send this back to the EDA to go over this and see if we can make this possibly
Okay,
I'll second.
a better.
can we
little
work
bit better.
tabling it into that motion then? Basically, the motion would be to
Table until.
table the issue and send it back to EDA for more work.
But it would probably have to go to other committees as well, if we're talking about
Maybe,
policies
yeah.
and such too, so.
Yeah, maybe Ross can check on the Green Isle.
And who
Mhm.
would need to maybe come together to, or if we need a workshop or something like that, us
Right.
to, work on some of those things as well.
Is the wording okay with that, Tom, if we just have that it's being tabled?
It's perfect.
Table to the future. Okay, motion by Hattlestead, second by Mr. Highland to table any action on the sewer and water access fee issue for more work to be done and come back at a future date. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item 14, approve or deny EDA committee recommendation to award $2,500 to JB Services as part of the facade loan program for improvements to 304 West Alden Street, Resolution 21-2018. This is a loan through the facade loan program, and it would be at the Alden Street address indicated. There's one name in the resolution, and it says Brandon, John, and Roberta. Who is Brandon Zaski?
There is not a Brandon.
There is not a Brandon Zaski. So if it does get approved, that name needs to be struck from the resolution. It's appears in the second, about a third of the way down, whereas, and then it appears also in number 2 down towards the bottom. So, any reports or input from the EDA representatives as far as that, the application or?
The application, this property is within the central business district, which the facade program is. It doesn't specify with this program if it is a business or not, although what it did specify is that it was in the central business district. This building is within the central business district, and that's why it was sent here with approval from EDA. And with that, I'll introduce Resolution 21-2018, approving terms of a loan to JB Services from the Arlington EDA Facade Improvement Loan Program for a project at 304 West Alden Street, striking Brandon in whereas and underneath number 2.
I'll second that.
Resolution 21-2018 has been introduced by Councilmember Batcher and seconded by Councilmember Hattlestead. And that is a resolution approving terms of a loan to JB Services from the Arlington EDA Facade Improvement Loan Program for a project at 304 West Alden Street. Further discussion? We'll vote by roll call. Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Batcher.
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
All in favor? None opposed? The resolution is adopted. Moving on to miscellaneous business, council member committee updates. Is there any committee meetings that
Well, I've got
reports?
just a couple quick ones that I
Okay.
could. Community Ed is going to have their they'll be having a February meeting on the 22nd. They'll be discussing ECFE, summer brochure, pitch, hit, and run 2018, which will be held May 5th. A program that maybe will utilize Thomas Field, Buck Thomas
Okay.
Field.
Good.
Then the meeting is at the Gaylord School, so there'll be a tour, and that's what's going on in Community Ed. And then the hospital has done like our committees have cut back on meetings, and so they will be meeting maybe 6 times over the course of the year. And will otherwise communicate by email. The one big thing, I guess, other than the remodeling is going as well as it could be. There are complaints of noise, but how do you bang on something without making noise? And you know, they're doing their best to keep, you know, the dust down and so on. But other than that, the project is moving along, and I don't know where they are, if they're behind or ahead. They were behind, I know, but I don't know how much they caught up. And then the other, actually, I'm gonna call it a highlight, is that they had their annual a DNV survey, which is a secure, or a group comes in and evaluates the hospital, an independent group, and they got praises for redoing or fixing the things they had complaints on previous time. And well, let me read what Todd said was his favorite comment from the surveyors. This is the cleanest and most organized critical access hospital that I have been in to date. So the hospital is being kept clean, and was a very positive report. So it's a good thing. And as far as I understand, everybody's happy that this is taking place, for the most part, I guess.
Well, going through a remodel is not fun, just let me tell you. Trying to work in a remodel is not fun, just let me tell you. The struggle is very real.
With a hospital too, where you dust can't be there.
Yeah, I can't for the hospital, it's gonna be a total nightmare.
They have it blocked off pretty well. I've been there, so when you go in there, it's not really that disruptive, like when you go in as a patient or anything. And when I've been in there in the last little while, it's been clean. It hasn't been dusty. And I mean, they're right on top of everything. So I mean, I don't see it being as, that disruptive. But I'm not there. I know what it's like to work at school, and I'm disrupted there. So I get where the employees are coming from. But as a patient going there, I don't feel like it was I don't feel like it's was disruptive. I think
Of
they're
course, I suppose the majority of
really-
the work is on the end by the patient
Well,
room, so
we-
as far as noise.
well, we had to go to urgent care
Yeah.
or whatever, so we were in that
Oh,
area.
you were in that area, okay.
So, yeah, and we didn't find any, like, delay or any, dust or any of that kind of stuff when we were there. So, I mean, I think whatever they're trying to control, they're doing a good job
I'm
at
sure
it.
they're doing the best that can possibly be done.
And my experience at the hospital, I can only speak for myself, other people have other stories, but I think they go far and beyond what they need to make sure that you're comfortable and taken well care of. Get in to see your provider, who that might be, and get you out in a timely fashion, personally. And I have nothing but praise. that's my report.
That's your report. Any other reports?
The library meeting was apparently on the 7th, and the city calendar said the 14th, so I went on the 14th. But just a note from Kathy, and I think you attended,
I was there, yeah.
just that they updated what has been happening in upcoming authors.
Yep.
So I don't know if you have anything to add. But
Well, there is a good one, a little personal involvement in this one. They, you may or may not have heard of this couple that grew up in Brownton, Minnesota. A friend of mine who lives in Northfield, we were sitting across the table one day at our house, and he said, I gotta tell you a story about a neighbor of mine. And he proceeded to tell about this couple who were in their mid-70s. They're going to be speaking here at the library on, I think, the 10th of March. Childhood sweethearts. When she was 15, he was 17, and approaching graduation, she got pregnant, had the baby, gave up the baby for adoption. And from then on, their parents wouldn't let them associate at all, so that was it. They split, and they each had their own separate lives. He was married and divorced, and then married, and his wife died. She was married, and her husband died. Okay, now this is only 5 years ago this happened. He somehow went on Facebook and got her phone number. She was living out in Seattle. She called him and she said, I'm coming, or he called her and he said, I'm coming out there. He got off the plane, and within a day he had asked her if she'd marry him, and she said yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
High school,
Yeah. He said I never forgot about her through my whole life. She was the one that I was really in love with. Well, what about the girl, the daughter? They found her too. They went through Lutheran Social Services, and they found the daughter, who was living 20 miles away from Northfield. She had married a farmer there, and so now they all got back together again. It was just amazing. I mean, their story is, I don't know if you know Steve Harvey
Yep,
TV. No,
yeah.
they were on. They are either were or are going to be on his show.
Oh, wow.
And they've been on the local TV stations in the cities, and it's just it's a story that just really grabs you, because it's just amazing how it all came about. But
These were friends of yours?
no, the friends of mine was Brent Mueller. You know Brent and Brady. You knew Jeff probably. Okay, Brent and Brady are twin brothers of Jeff's, and they were classmates of mine, and we're good friends. So he told me about this story of the couple from Brownton, and you know they wrote a book, and I was reading through the book, and it's very interesting because they talk about going to the Playmore Ballroom and those types of things. So you can really closely identify with it. But I think it's going to be there's going to be a lot of people there just listening to their story. It is very interesting. Very interesting, yeah. Other than that, they have some other, I didn't bring my notes along or anything, so. But they continue to be very resourceful in trying to get speakers and presenters and programs going, and so.
What time on the 10th, Mr. Mayor, is that?
I think it's 12:30. That's a Saturday. Is that a Saturday? Saturday at 12:30.
April 10th?
March
March
10th. Just double check here so I don't. Being we're going out over the airwaves. Yep. 12:30 on the 10th at the library. All right. Any other discussion or any other committee updates?
Cable Commission.
Cable Commission.
I know this has been ongoing for probably 5 months now,
We're patient.
but I met with Attorney Arneson a couple times in the last month, and he has talked with MediaCom, and as soon as he gets back, there's one conversation left to be had,
Okay.
then I will have a recommendation.
Okay. Good.
I think everything we're looking to get, we're going to.
Okay, sounds good.
But we just have to wait from the higher ups from MediaCom to say yes on this. The lower say yes, but they're not the one that signed the papers. So we should know by mid-March.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee updates? If not, move to.
I don't have a committee update, however, I think we all got that email from Kevin Sullivan.
Oh, yes,
About,
yes.
Spending some time with the
With a
with the
pager?
ambulance group and the EMTs and so forth, and, I did send back an email to Kevin saying that as soon as I get through with my auction and the sale of the building, I would like to do that.
I replied to the same thing. You know, let's sit down and look at the calendar and see when to sign me up or whatever too. I think, it'll be a wake-up call, really, to know how much your life is just, you know, held in the hand by the pager ringing or the phone going off, right, and calling you a way to go and
I think he'll even let me drive the ambulance and turn the siren on.
oh gosh, I don't know about
What?
that.
I
I
wouldn't
think
go
it's a
that far.
ride along there, Jim. A ride along.
Just for those of you who are maybe watching, will be watching on TV, or the clip of the meeting, the item that they're talking about is a letter that was sent out by Kevin Sullivan, our ambulance director, and he is inviting members of the council. Was it beyond members of the, just members of the council, I think,
Council members, I think.
to sort of be on call and go through the things that ambulance staff has to go through, answering calls in the middle of the night or at inopportune times, and maybe then true appreciation, if it hasn't been had yet, would be something that would be a result of it.
I think what I remember him asking is either work a night shift, 6 PM to 6 AM.
Sort of like a
or-
ride along, yeah.
and go on every call,
Yeah.
or actually do a weekend and go, and they're on call like the ambulance is on call,
Right.
or we would be.
We would be whoever would take that responsibility.
I think we all should take our turn and,
Did he have a block of time?
No,
or
he didn't.
No,
we
just
didn't.
wanted you to get a hold of them and
Okay, all right.
see what worked for you and the ambulance service.
So does he give you a pager then too? And you
Yes.
get
Yes, you get a
Mhm.
pager at home.
Yeah,
You'd be paying, if you didn't go along, you had to stay up while you were at home
right.
until they were done with that call. So
Or
if you
stop
weren't
what you're
along,
doing.
that
Yeah.
doesn't mean the pager goes off and you go back to bed. You need to stay up.
you don't get to say, I'm gonna stay home this one, I stayed up a little too late.
Call me
tonight."
when you're done.
Yeah, tell me how things go.
I live with a firefighter. I know
Yeah,
to some
yeah.
extent what they're
Yeah.
a little different, but
The
I,
intent's not go back to bed.
I just pulled up his letter, and it starts out as taking this opportunity to provide the city council and city administration with what I feel a unique opportunity to join the Arlington Area Ambulance Service. So he's opening it up to,
have asked about
Council and city,
The staff.
city staff.
my daughter's pursuing nursing, and I asked about her doing a ride along to see if it's something she wanted to go EMT or something. But he won't allow a ride along until she's 18.
Liability.
But she's almost 18. We got 2 more months.
Oh,
Then-
well.
Then she can.
I'm
Go on
sure
to
he
July.
will.
But yeah, I said it'll give her an opportunity to pursue a different avenue, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, going into discussion items, I'm getting tired of bringing this up. The gazebo bids produced no bids,
Oh,
which I was totally surprised. You know, I thought if we'd get in early, we would catch the contractors before they had everything booked for the early part of the spring, and we put a June 1st deadline on it, which seemed reasonable at the time, but now after the bid deadline has come and gone. We find out that the contractors didn't want to bid it because of the bid deadline. Or because of the construction deadline. They said if you give us till October 1st, we'll get it done sometime during the summer, but we didn't, and the two contractors that said their whole spring is booked up already. They couldn't have gotten at it to get it done by June 1st, so.
So,
What I'm going to be discussing with Administrator Melvin is just to rerun the same ad and just change the date to October 1st.
Yep.
And do it now, so,
before they get filled up.
before they get filled
October
up, yeah,
1st.
yeah. So we get somebody committed. I
Sometimes
think
this
that's-
year is better than,
Then not at all.
Not at all.
Then not at all, and I think, yeah, and I'm getting tired of it, and I'd like to get it done, so.
Although I know the garden club wants to get at the project, do their decorating.
Yeah, and there may or may not have an opportunity, depending again on when that
Yeah.
contractor that's willing to take the commitment or make the commitment
Yep.
gets it done, so. So that's an update on that. Anything else? If not, a motion is in order to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hattlestead, second by Councilmember Yashewski to adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried, 7:41. Not bad.